I might as well start out this morning because, if I could, with Senator Lieberman and I introduced legislation a long time ago to try to address the issue of climate change or global warming. So thank you all for being here this morning. Our advocates, you might want to say climate change on a morning like this morning rather than global warming. It has a little less credibility. But there's a group of young people who have frankly been around me in this campaign since I ran in 2000, and because of them I got involved in this issue. I thank you for your advocacy, and if you all could just raise your hands, we'd like to recognize you too for being involved in this issue. And I want to just briefly say to you that, my friends, I believe that climate change is real. I won't call it global warming this morning, if you don't mind. But I think it's real, and I think that we need to address it. I think it is a major issue globally as well as in this country. I was pleased to see at the end of this gathering in Bali that that this administration certainly made a significant move in the right direction. I have been at odds with this administration over the issue for a long time, but my friends, let me just put the issue to you this way very as succinctly as possible. Suppose that there's no such thing as climate change taking place, and we adopt green technologies. We go to nuclear power, we buy the light bulbs, we conserve, we develop an automobile that has a battery that'll take you 200 miles before you have to plug it in. We do hybrids, we use ethanol, we reprocess or store nuclear waste so that nuclear power can be a big part of our energy requirements. We develop clean coal technology. In other words, there's a broad array of steps that we could take which would reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and there's no such thing as climate change. Then we've just given these kids, these young Americans, these young Americans a cleaner world. That's all we've done. But suppose we are right and do nothing. Suppose we are right about this vast accumulation of scientific evidence that indicates that there are temperature increases as a result of increased greenhouse gas emissions, and we do nothing. Well, I think the answer to that is obvious. And I want to emphasize something that is very controversial to you. And I know that Seabrook, some of us here remember how politically explosive that issue was. But I am convinced that nuclear power has to be part of any effort that we're going to have to make in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The United States Navy has been sailing ships around the world for 60 years with nuclear power plants on them, and we've never had an accident. It's a question of reprocessing and storing the waste. My friends, the French, 80% of their electricity is generated by nuclear power. We all want to imitate the French, but the fact is they're able to do it. And by the way, in case you missed it, and I'm sure you didn't, we now have a pro-American president of France, which shows if you live long enough, anything is possible in this world. And he's obviously a brilliant man and a man of great taste because he vacations in New Hampshire. How could you ask for a better France? So I don't want to belabor the issue with you for too long, but I really do fear about the consequences of failure to act on greenhouse gas emissions. And the thing is, I'm not going to ask any American to shiver in the dark. I'm going to ask them to conserve. I'm going to ask them to embrace these new technologies. General Electric, the world's largest corporation, 7 years ago announced they are dedicated to green technologies. They're still making big profits, by the way. So let me just conclude by saying that there is now a nexus between the need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and our absolute requirement, a near emergency situation to reduce our dependence on foreign oil.